Chapter 9. Of the soul's disquiets, God's dealings, and power to contain ourselves in order. Observation 1. Moreover we see, that the soul hath disquiets proper to itself, besides those griefs of sympathy that arise from the body, for here the soul complains of the soul itself, as when it is out of the body it hath torments and joys of its own. And if those troubles of the soul be not well cured, then by way of fellowship and redundance they will affect the outward man, and so the whole man shall be enwrapped in misery. Observation 2. From whence we further see, that God, when he will humble a man, need not fetch forces from without. If he let but our own hearts loose, we shall have trouble and work enough. Though we were as holy as David, God did not only exercise him with a rebellious son out of his own loins, but with rebellious risings out of his own heart. If there were no enemy in the world, nor devil in hell, we carry that within us, that, if it be let loose, will trouble us more than all the world besides. Oh, that the proud creature should exalt himself against God, and run into a voluntary course of provoking him, who can not only raise the humours of our bodies against us, but the passions of our minds also to torment us. Therefore it is the best wisdom not to provoke the great God, for are we stronger than he, 1 Corinthians 10:22, that can raise ourselves against ourselves, and work wonders not only in the great world, but also in the little world, our souls and bodies, when he pleases. Observation 3. We see likewise hence a necessity of having something in the soul above itself. It must be partaker of a diviner nature than itself, otherwise, when the most refined part of our souls, the very spirit of our minds, is out of frame, what shall bring it in again? Therefore we must conceive in a godly man, a double self, one which must be denied, the other which must deny, one that breeds all the disquiet, and another that stilleth what the other hath raised. The way to still the soul, as it is under our corrupt self, is not to parley with it, and divide government for peace sake, as if we should gratify the flesh in something, to redeem liberty to the spirit in other things, for we shall find the flesh will be too encroaching. We must strive against it, not with subtlety and discourse, so much as with peremptory violent silence it and vex it. An enemy that parleys will yield at length. Grace is nothing else but that blessed power, whereby a spiritual gain upon ourselves as carnal. Holy love is that which we gain of self-love, and so joy, and delight, etc. Grace labors to win ground of the old man, until at length it be all in all. Indeed we are never ourselves perfectly, till we have wholly put off ourselves. Nothing should be at a greater distance to us than ourselves. This is the reason why carnal men, that have nothing above themselves but their corrupt self, sink in great troubles, having nothing within to uphold them, whereas a good man is wiser than himself, holier than himself, stronger than himself, there is something in him more than a man. There be evils that the spirit of man alone, out of the goodness of nature, cannot bear, but the spirit of man, assisted with an higher spirit, will support and carry him through. It is a good trial of a man's condition to know what he esteems to be himself. A godly man counts the inner man, the sanctified part, to be himself, whereby he stands in relation to Christ and a better life. Another man esteems his contentment in the world, the satisfaction of his carnal desires, the respect he finds from men by reason of his parts, or something without him, that he is master of, this he counts himself, and by this he values himself. And to this he makes his best thoughts and endeavours serviceable, and of crosses in these things he is most sensible, and so sensible, that he thinks himself undone if he seeth not a present issue out of them. That which most troubles a good man in all troubles is himself. So far as he is unsubbed, he is more disquieted with himself than with all troubles out of himself, when he hath gotten the better once of himself. Whatsoever falls from without is light. Where the spirit is enlarged, it cares not much for outward bondage. Where the spirit is lightsome, it cares not much for outward darkness. Where the spirit is settled, it cares not much for outward changes. Where the spirit is one with itself. It cannot bear outward breaches. Where the spirit is sound, it can bear outward sickness. Nothing can be very ill with us, when all is well within. This is the comfort of a holy man, that though he be troubled with himself, yet by reason of the Spirit in him, which is his better self, he works out by degrees whatever is contrary. A spring water, being clear of itself, works itself clean, though it be troubled by something cast in. As the sea will endure no poisonful thing, but casts it upon the shore. But a carnal man is like a spring corrupted, that cannot work itself clear, because it is wholly tainted. His iron light is darkness, and therefore no wonder if he sees nothing. Sin lieth upon his understanding, and hinders the knowledge of itself. It lies close upon the will, and hinders the striving against itself. True self that is worth the owning, is when a man is taken into a higher condition, and made one with Christ, and esteems neither of himself nor others, as happy for anything according to the flesh. 1. He is under the law and government of the Spirit, and so far as he is himself, works according to that principle. 2. He labors more and more to be transformed into the likeness of Christ, in whom he esteems that he hath his best being. 3. He esteems of all things that befall him, to be good or ill, as they further or hinder his best condition. If all be well for that, he counts himself well, whatsoever else befalls him. Another man, when he doth anything that is good, acts not his own part, but a godly man, when he doth good, is in his proper element. What another man doth for by ends and reasons, that he doth from a new nature, which, if there were no law to compel, yet would move him to that which is pleasing to Christ. If he be drawn aside by passion or temptation, that he judges not to be himself, but taketh a holy revenge on himself for it, as being redeemed and taken out from himself, he thinks himself no debtor, nor to owe any service to his corrupt self. That which he plots and projects and works for is, that Christ may rule everywhere, and especially in himself, for he is not his own but Christ's, and therefore desires to be more and more emptied of himself, that Christ might be all in him. Thus we see what great use there is of dealing with ourselves, for the better composing and settling of our souls. Which, though it be a course without glory and ostentation in the world, as causing a man to retire inwardly into his own breast, having no other witness but God and himself, and though it be likewise irksome to the flesh, as calling the soul home to itself. Being desirous naturally to wander abroad and be a stranger at home, yet it is a course both good in itself, and makes the soul good. For by this means the judgment is exercised and rectified, the will and affections ordered, the whole man put into an holy frame fit for every good action. By this the tree is made good, and the fruit cannot but be answerable. By this the soul itself is set in tune, whence there is a pleasant harmony in our whole conversation. Without this, we may do that which is outwardly good to others, but we can never be good ourselves. The first justice begins within, when there is a due subjection of all the powers of the soul to the Spirit, as sanctified and guided by God's Spirit. When justice and order is first established in the soul, it will appear from thence in all our dealings. He that is at peace in himself, will be peaceable to others, peaceable in his family, peaceable in the church, peaceable in the state. The soul of a wicked man is in perpetual sedition, being always troubled in itself. It is no wonder if it be troublesome to others. Unity in ourselves is before union with others. To conclude this first part, concerning intercourse with ourselves. As we desire to enjoy ourselves, and to live the life of men and of Christians, which is, to understand our ways, as we desire to live comfortably, and not to be accessory of yielding to that sorrow which causes death, as we desire to answer God and ourselves. When we are to give an account of the inward tumults of our souls, as we desire to be vessels prepared for every good work, and to have strength to undergo any cross, as we desire to have healthy souls, and to keep a Sabbath within ourselves, as we desire not only to do good, but to be good in ourselves. So let us labor to quiet our souls, and often ask a reason of ourselves, why we should not be quiet.